Good morning everyone, myself Srijani Biswas and I am from Krishnagar Public School, 9th standard. And today I am here to explain the topic reflection of light. So the first question that arises from this topic is, what is actually reflection? So reflection happens when a ray of light it gets reflected back to the same medium by a reflecting surface. So now we are taking a diagram here, and this is a diagram of reflection happening through a plane mirror. This is the incident ray. Incident ray is the ray of light that falls on the mirror. This line here, it is depicting the plane mirror, which is the reflecting surface. This is the normal. Normal is an imaginary line that forms the angle between between perpendicularly, that is 90 degree, with the reflecting surface. And then we have reflected ray. Reflected ray is the ray of light that gets reflected back to the same medium. Next we have angle of incidence. Angle of incidence makes an angle with the incident ray and the normal, and angle of reflection makes the angle with reflected ray and the normal. So from this diagram we can conclude two laws of reflection. So the first law of reflection states that the incident ray, the reflected ray, the normal to the point of incidence on the reflected surface are all on the same medium. That we can see from this diagram. And the second law concludes that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. That is, if the angle of incidence, if it rises, if it increases, then the angle of reflection will also increase, and vice versa. So now there are some nature of images formed by a plane mirror. First of all, it is virtual, it cannot be produced on a real screen, and the distance of the object and the mirror and the image is the same. So now I have understood the whole topic of reflection of light. Now I would like to call two of my friends to do some hands-on experiment to understand this whole topic more practically.
Okay, so as we have concluded from the second law of reflection that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection, which means that if we increase the angle of incidence, then automatically the angle of reflection also increases.
But does this actually occur in the reality?
So let us prove this with the help of a demonstration.
Okay, so in this experiment the materials required are a plane mirror and a laser ray box. As we can see that now we are going to increase the angle of incidence. We can see that as we increase the angle of incidence, the angle of reflection also increases.
Okay, wait, so what happens when we fall the incident ray normally on the surface? Where does the reflected ray go?
Okay, that's actually a really good question. Now we are going to fall the ray on exactly normally on the plane mirror. Now we can see that as it falls normally, the angle of incidence is 0 degree. Thus the angle of reflection will also be 0 degree as it retraces its path.
As we have seen from the nature of the image that the object distance is equal to the image distance, which means that if an object is placed in front of a plane mirror, then the distance from the object and the mirror will be equal to the distance of the image produced back at the mirror.
So let's prove this with an experiment. So in this experiment the materials required are plane mirror and an object.
So now we will place the plane mirror at 0.
Now we are going to place this object at exactly 5 cm distance from the mirror, and as we can see that the image is also formed at 5 cm distance from the mirror.
So what will happen if we increase the distance of the object?
Okay, let us see. Now we are going to increase this distance to 10 cm, and let's see where the image is actually formed. As we can see that the image is also formed at 10 cm from the mirror. Thus we can conclude that the distance from the mirror and the object is same as the distance from the image and the mirror.
Thank you.